Mrs. B, might as well. I'm walking through a ghost town, y'all ain't playing my sounds. Don't tell me to calm down, don't tell me to calm down. Only time I go backwards is when I wanna moonwalk. Don't test me, my mood's wrong, don't test me, my mood's wrong. We are who we say that we are. You were lost in the stars, and it's all from the start. Never running no pace, never on the right page. But we still read that book, and we still run that race. Ay. Mississippi Racer riding out, no shortcuts, no time for that. Mississippi Racer riding out, till the wheels fall off, I'm driving that. Mississippi Racer riding out, wheels stop burning, strike the match. Mississippi Racer riding out, red light, green light, red light, good night. Ay. Red light, green light, red light, good night. 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 Time to chill, don't sweat it.
Good morning and welcome. It is Coffee and Sports. It is the morning show, powered by Wired and the Wire Network. Thank you so much for making us part of your morning routine. I am Chris, and of course, that over there, that is Mo. Mo, how are you this morning, sir?
Doing great on a tremendous Tuesday. Tons of sports to get into. Obviously, still the biggest story of the day is what's going on.
It's not a story, Mo. We're good, right? We're good.
Well,
who's that guy?
In the end, well, sure. And you know what? Let's tie a knot around it this way, or tie a bow around it. Big picture, do I think this is going anywhere? I do not, and I'll leave it at that. I mean, I think we're gonna in the end, Chris, be left with more questions than answers, and maybe that's the best place to leave it if you're MLB.
So, of course, we're talking about Shohei Ohtani, and we are talking about, excuse me, the press conference that he had yesterday. I use press conference loosely. Usually in press conferences, you are conferencing with the press. This was a prepared statement that he shared between himself and his new translator. I wonder if this translator is going to have all the same perks as the previous translator. And by perks, I mean access to the funds. But we'll see.
I'm guessing not.
We'll see. Only time will tell. But I'm pulling up in front of me right now, Mo, and I want to walk through it. I want to give this a fair opportunity and have an actual conversation about this. So it says that. So obviously, let's summarize. He comes out. He says that he didn't gamble on baseball. He never gambled on anything. He's not involved in gambling, period. He had no contact with this bookie or anything related to gambling. And then he essentially doubles down on the fact that his longtime friend stole from him upwards of $4.5+ million. So the timeline for this situation, Mo, is as follows. According to, and I had her name in front of me, but I lost it. The last name is Thompson. So according to Thompson, this is how it went down. Dodgers co-owner Mark Walter addressed the team in the clubhouse to say that a major story about Ohtani was forthcoming. So one of the co-owners of the Dodgers, he brings the team together in the clubhouse to give them a heads up of, hey, this is coming down the path. Let's be aware of it. During that pep talk, conversation, informational meeting, however you want to phrase it, Mizuhara, the former interpreter of Shohei Ohtani, speaks in English. He speaks to the entire team, and he basically tells them that he has a gambling addiction. And then during his spiel, whatever he's saying, however it is that he's trying to explain it, the Dodgers president of baseball operations, Andrew Friedman, then inserts himself into the conversation and says that Otani intervened on Mizuhara's account to help him pay down his losses. So, team meeting, co-owner of the team brings the team together and says, Mo, we just want to let you guys know there's this thing happening with Shohei. The story's about to come out. I want everyone to be aware of it. I don't want anyone talking about Shohei. Let the team handle that. But they're going to ask you questions about it. I want to make sure we're all on the same page. And then the next breath, Mizuhara stands up and says, guys, I'm a gambling addict. I have an issue. I'm involved in this whole story. And then he gets cut off by the president of baseball operations, who tells the team, yeah, he has some losses, and Shohei helped him pay down his losses. According to Thompson, Mo, it was only later that Shohei was fully made aware of what was taking place and what was transpiring within the clubhouse. According to Dodgers officials and Shohei Ohtani's spokesperson, Ohtani's representatives had continued to rely on Mizuhara to communicate with Ohtani while they were dealing with the situation. And Mizuhara did not tell Ohtani what was happening. Okay. Is it possible, Mo, that Mizuhara went behind Ohtani's back and told some of the guys one version of the story, thinking it might not get back to him? Could that possibly have happened?
Sure, it's possible.
It's possible. But Mo, Ohtani was in the room during all this. He was there. He was in the same room when the co-owner is saying there's a story about Ohtani coming down the pipe. When Mizuhara stands up and explains to the team that he has a gambling problem. And then the president of baseball operations inserts himself and says that Shohei was helping Mizuhara pay down his losses. Shohei was in the room for all of that. We go on to say that, or Shohei went on to say, the first time that he knew about the gambling, Mizuhara's gambling, was after the first game when we had the team meeting. During the team meeting, obviously Mizuhara was speaking in English. I didn't have a translator by my side. Even with that, I kind of knew that something was going on. I started to feel something was amiss. What? Okay. Shohei goes on to say, obviously, I did never agreed to pay off the debt, agreed to make the payments, or agreed to have contact with the bookmaker. When we went back to the hotel and talked one-on-one, that's when I found out he had a massive debt. So, Mo, if you want to believe Shohei's version of this, Shohei's version is that his longtime friend stole from him. Shohei's version is that my co-owner called a team meeting, and at that, and maybe it wasn't called a team meeting, maybe the team was already together because they were changing or whatnot, but the co-owner brings the team together to let everyone know this Shohei Ohtani thing is about to come out in the news. They allow Mizuhara to speak at this team meeting, where he acknowledges that he is a gambler and has a gambling problem. The president of baseball operations is confirming that Shohei helped pay down the debts. And then Shohei, who is in the room, Mo, doesn't say anything at the time, because apparently everyone's speaking in English and he can't understand them. And then he doesn't have even though he knows something's amiss, he can feel that something's amiss, Mo, but doesn't say anything in the moment. He waits till they go back to the hotel room to have a one-on-one conversation with Mizuhara about what transpired with the team in the locker room.
Right.
How does-
So in the moment, don't you say, hey, Mitsuhara, what are you saying? What are they
Right.
talking about? Right there in the
Right.
moment, you say that, hey man, what are they talking about? And you go back and forth. You know what I'm saying? You can say that. I'm with you. We go back to the room and we have a private conversation, and then you reveal to me that you've been stealing from me. I find that, again, I know it sounds like Chris and Mo are coming down on show. I'm really not. I really don't think I am. I really think I'm just listening to everything that's being said, and it sounds like a really bad Lifetime movie. It's not put out very well. I obviously, just as a fan of sports in general, I don't wish anything bad on Shohei Ohtani, and I think he's great for baseball. They've needed a star like this to come along for the longest. So I hope everything he's saying and what's going on is exactly as it is. He has been misrepresented, and he's been taken advantage of. But you have to admit, when the president comes out and goes, he's got a problem, and Shohei has been helping him out. This is the story that they went with. This is what they thought was a good idea to put out there to the team and to the public. So for you to turn around and have a private conversation to go, you've been stealing from me? What do you mean you've been stealing from me? I don't believe this. We're best friends. We've been together for what, 6-7 years? On human nature alone, Chris, would it not make you skeptical of the situation? I'm just saying. Just if you're not, that would throw me off a little bit, because it seems like a puzzle and all the pieces aren't fitting that well together.
Mo, if we're to believe this on face value, then we have to believe that Mizuhara thought that he could manipulate this situation to the point where he could literally stand in front of an entire Major League Baseball team and lie to them, while at the same time lying to Ohtani separately, and also lying directly in front of him in the room, but in a different language that he doesn't understand.
Sure.
And he thought he could pull all of that off, and that's without even asking the question of, he has access to his accounts. He has access to $4.5 million.
Yeah.
He stole all this. Like, that's not even talking about the logistics of it. On face value, he not only convinced the co-owner of the Dodgers that what he was saying was true, he not only convinced the president of baseball operations for the Dodgers that what he is saying is true. He then stood in front of the entire team to spin his story with Shohei standing in the room. Mo, the balls on Mizuhara. He must need a wheelbarrow to get from place to place if he thought he was going to pull this off. If this is actually what we are supposed to believe,
that's really cocky
version of this story.
That is truly cocky when you can sit there and go, look, this guy doesn't know what I'm saying. So look,
right.
This is what's going on. He has no clue. And look, I get it. Shohei doesn't speak English very well, too.
But he knew something was amiss.
But he said something was amiss. Right. So in that moment when you say it's amiss, hey, Mizuhara, what did you just say to them? Why are they all looking like that? What are you saying?
But we wait till everyone changes, and then we drive back to the hotel, and then we're going to talk about it? Not even in the car. Not even in the ride to the hotel.
Chris, you're in the car going, something's amiss. But you don't want to get into it in the car. Mind you, you're by your damn selves. You don't want to get into it. We need to get to the hotel room so I can express myself and have a real conversation. Like, if I think something's up or shady or I don't feel right, we need to talk in the moment, right then and there.
We're gonna bring JG on. Maybe we're looking at this the wrong way. Maybe I need some extra clarity because I'm just twisted in all different ways.
JG would know better than anybody.
Let's welcome JG to the show this morning. JG, how are you, sir?
Doing good. How you guys doing this morning?
Hey, good morning, JG.
JG, we had a bunch of questions before Shohei Ohtani decided he needed to address this with the media. And now coming out of it, you're looking at a story that just didn't seem very logical initially. And now when you kind of hear the breakdown and the timeline of it, JG, I think we're even more confused about how this is a logical story. Where do you stand on it? What are you seeing? What are you hearing? What is your opinion?
The issue for me in this situation is, and I get it and I understand that. We even talked about it in the group chat yesterday. It makes no sense, at least for him, to answer questions right now because there is an investigation that's it's either starting or about to start. So there's no, again, that is the typical response when investigations begin, because if you speak about something, or if you answer questions that you're not prepared for, you can potentially incriminate yourself without intentionally doing so. So we're talking about, the lawyer side of things here, where you just, again, give as little responses as you can, and just give it little information as you can. I agree with you guys. The question and the biggest question is how does this guy have access to a bank account when you're making $50 million in endorsements per year? You just signed a $700 million contract. Now, again, it's backloaded completely with deferred money, but your value is so high. How does I can't fathom. And I talked to some people about this, and I actually have some friends who are very big in gambling. They don't let people make bets for them or have access to their gambling account. They don't let people have access to, let alone your bank account that is not a family member. I don't get that. That's perplexing to me, that this guy can have, even if, and here's the other part of it too, if he did steal this money, how do you not have your account more secure then?
Thank you.
That doesn't make any sense to me either. How do you have, and even so, over time, why do you not have a financial advisor, a financial planner, or someone who handles your finances to look at your account each month and say, hey, we're missing $4.5 million? There's too many questions. And I'm trying to remain neutral, because that is the professional way to handle this situation. We need more. We need answers. So I'm trying to reserve judgment until we get those answers. But my goodness, it's getting harder to remain neutral right now because of just the lack of substance, and how these questions are continuing to pile up. There's more and more each day right now, and you saw it again. You can target certain days of games, and I've seen a lot of posts about that, where people are saying, well, there was a bet made with this guy, with this account, or this gambling account, on this game that Ohtani pitched, and it was the over under was such, and the bet was made on the over for runs scored when Ohtani was pitching, and sure enough, it hit on that. Too many questions. Not enough answers. I'm trying to hold judgment until we get those answers, and it's getting harder and harder each day.
JG, what do you even make of the timeline? The team owner addresses it, the VP addresses it, Mizuhara speaking to the team. Like, why is his interpreter even being given the floor to address the team? Like, isn't that weird? Like, that's Ohtani's guy, but he's his interpreter. And now he's addressing the entire, that whole setup is weird to me too. And Ohtani's just standing in the corner the entire time, being like, something's amiss. Like, it's weird, is it not?
Again, too many questions because if we're talking about this guy really did it, then that would be the right way to go about. Let him address the situation with the team. Like, hey, you know what? Yes, I betrayed the trust of the person I work for in Ohtani. I betrayed the franchise that has employed me, that has paid me really well to do an interpreter job. I betrayed them in the process to it. So that does in a way make sense if he is the one who is doing this act. But at the same time, hindsight's 2020. Could it be done where he's the fall guy? Sure. Again, there's too many questions right now, and there's still what bothers me, and I said this to you in the group chat with you guys. When stories change, and I said this to you guys last week too, when stories change, more times than not, at least what I've understood in my time in journalism, in learning in journalism, with my degree, when stories change, it's usually the first story that's the correct story. That's where that's where my mind is, and I feel like that's the case where he did know about this. He didn't. Part of me wants to think that that he knew about it. He paid the debts. I'm trying not to say that he made the bets himself, that Ohtani made the bets himself, because that is a serious allegation, and that is warranted banishment in Major League Baseball. And we're talking about the biggest star in Major League Baseball today, and probably one of the biggest stars we've had globally in Major League Baseball history.
Oh, okay. No doubt.
And so that we're talking about a unprecedented. We're talking about precedent as far as gambling itself, but this is unprecedented. That this is the name of the star player that we're dealing with right now. So I'm hoping not, because I've said to you guys, I want Major League Baseball to get back to growing in the right direction. Ohtani has been the reason we have gotten to this point where popularity is growing again globally. I really hope that we don't have this situation where we talk about Ohtani potentially being banned from baseball because of gambling. I really hope we don't get to that point.
And JG,
we're I'm sorry. Go ahead, Chris.
You have to assume that he has enough intelligent people around him that if this was just him being a good friend, if this was just him being like, you're 4.5 in, let me help you. I can help you. Let me get you out of this hole. I don't want anything bad to happen to you. If that was, obviously that's still an issue. Obviously he shouldn't be doing that. Obviously that's a gray area you don't want to get involved in. But if that was it, wouldn't you think there would be enough smart people around him to be like, hey, there's precedent for this. This happened back in the league in 2014, 2015. It was an undisclosed fine for the Marlins pitcher. Obviously, it's not a great look, but let's just come clean. Say you were helping out a friend, get the sympathy card, let MLB do what they want to do in the back end. They're not going to ban you. They're not going to suspend you. Like, they're going to do something to make sure they save face. But at the same time, given who you are, like, it's not like, and it would just go away if it was just that. So looking at it and just thinking logically, you have to now think two things. Either he really did steal from him and that entire story is true, or it's more complicated than he was just paying his friend's debt. Because if that's all it was, that's such an easy thing to come back from. Is it not?
Oh, 100%. Because at the same time, there would be a paper trail. More times than not, there's always some form of, and I don't care how careful people are. We have seen in history, no matter how careful people are, there's still a trail. There is still a paper trail one way or another, especially as we talk about, accounts. There's always a way to handle, these certain things, text messages and whatnot, phone calls. There's always a trail to it. So if that was the case, and what you're saying is the situation that Ohtani had no involvement, his interpreter comes up to him and says, I'm in serious trouble right now. I have this gambling addiction. I have this gambling problem. I am $4.5 million in the hole. And Ohtani goes, fine, I'll help. And he goes to Major League Baseball. I could imagine this. If he goes to Major League Baseball and says, look, I paid this debt for him. I'm not involved. Here's all my records. Here's all my stuff. A small fine. And that's it. We're done. We're washed. That's it. That's why I'm so perplexed that stories are changing, that there's information that is still being left out in one way or another. It doesn't make sense. Something doesn't add up to me in this situation where, again, one story was told, then another story is told, and then he came out in his statement says, well, I had no idea what was going on. I didn't even know my account got, hacked or stolen from or anything like that. It's just
– It
is. And again, like I said, I'm trying to remain neutral until we get information coming out throughout the investigation. But the problem is we won't know. We won't know anything about this until the end of the 2024 season. That's the worst part. We will have leaks. We will have information come out here and there sporadically throughout the season, because that's just what happens. We will, he goes to New York and against the Yankees, the Dodgers-Yankees series. He goes to New York. We're going to guarantee you we will have some kind of story pop up because it is the Dodgers-Yankees in New York. There's going to be some kind of story that's attached to this. It always happens that way. So we will see small tidbits here and there being part of it, but we won't know for sure about the investigation until after the 2024 season. And then we go from there with that. So this is going to be a huge issue for the Dodgers. It's going to be a huge issue for Ohtani. This is going to be a huge issue for Major League Baseball for the entire season. And that's not – you talking about one of the worst time things for Manfred and Major League Baseball with Ohtani going to the Dodgers for his first year with the Dodgers. This situation is absolutely a nightmare that they did not want to have, because the Dodgers are the second most valuable franchise in Major League Baseball behind the Yankees. You're talking about a change in dynamic, and now we have a cloud over that dynamic.
And gentlemen, let's not forget the other layer to this is something that baseball doesn't control. There was a crime committed. It is illegal to gamble in the state of California. This bookie that they're looking into was running an illegal gambling operation. There is also going to potentially be an investigation criminally into what he was doing, and who knows what that turns up. So, people are going to look at this. They're going to say, well, Major League Baseball, regardless of what they're going to find, they're going to push it under the rug, and maybe they would. But this is not a situation where Major League Baseball is in full control of the narrative. There is going to be a separate investigation that doesn't give a crap about the image of Major League Baseball, and Major League Baseball has to be careful, JG, because the last thing you want is for Major League Baseball to wrap up the investigation. It happened the way Ohtani said it did. He didn't know anything, and we move on. And then we find out 3 months later from the FBI, a different story. That's not what Major League Baseball needs. So that's going to be kind of going on in the background as well. And maybe the FBI investigation wraps up before them, and they know for a fact nothing more is coming down the road, and they can spin things the way they want to. But there's going to have to be some sort of awareness on the part of Major League Baseball that can happen. Things can come out over there that also impact us.
Yes, but at the same time, we've seen the government and Major League Baseball never be on the same page. We have seen that before. We've seen that recently with the steroids, with the steroid issue that was going on. We saw, again, we saw at a time where MLB players were on Capitol Hill and having conversations with Congress about steroids. And then we had the Balco situation. We had Biogenesis. We've had where players' names were involved in certain issues in certain situations. Now, again, this is a whole. That's apples and oranges. I understand that. I'm going to make sure I make that very clear. It's apples and oranges because, as you said, this is theft. This is 4.5. In one way, it could be theft or it could be illegal gambling. One way or another, as you just said, a crime has been committed, and severity is at a different. Severity of levels are being discussed at what length. So I get that's the difference in this situation. But Major League Baseball has swept under the rug at certain times issues that have come out. Right, I can. Knowing how Rob Manfred has been about his legacy, and I put this in the group chat with you guys, it would not surprise me that even if the FBI comes back and says, yes, Ohtani was involved, this is wrong, he committed a crime, and Major League Baseball says, okay, you handle that part, we're not doing anything about it. I just because, again, he's going to retire in 5 years, he wants to have we've seen Manfred's made decisions and changes that have altered the legacy that he thinks in his mind he's one of the best commissioners in Major League Baseball history. That if he has not had a huge scandal other than the Astros cheating scandal he's oversaw, we haven't had a huge scandal that has taken place during his time frame. This could be that one where it makes things really alter his legacy, and he does not want that. So I can only imagine he tries to sweep this under the rug, and I'm speculating. I'm speculating and not speaking truthfully here that this will happen, but I can only imagine that being the case because of how he's conducted himself as a commissioner, that he wants his legacy to be known as one of the best commissioners in Major League Baseball. It may have to be forced his hands where he has to do something. And because again, you're going to talk about during this time frame, we will continue to hear Pete Rose's name. We will continue to hear Joe Jackson. We will continue to hear the 1919 White Sox. We will continue to hear those guys. I know there's others that have been in gambling situations throughout Major League Baseball history, and I don't know their names as well. But we're going to hear these precedented issues of gambling in Major League Baseball. If it comes out that Ohtani has done this, and nothing happens to him, oh my goodness, the proverbial between a rock and a hard place is where Rob Manfred will be in this situation if nothing takes place because of it.
JG, let's get to a happier topic. Baseball is upon us. Opening day is right around the corner. Let's talk divisions. Let's talk what teams are going to look like this season. We're going to go division by division. You are going to give us the division winner, in your opinion, for each division. I'm going to give you the teams and the order in which they finished last year. So we're going to start with the National League East. Last year's order was the Braves winning, followed by the Phillies, Marlins, Mets, and Nationals. Do you see the Braves repeating as division champs this season?
I do. The Braves, again, one of the more talented rosters throughout baseball. They were the best team in the regular season. I'll make sure I put that out there. They were the best team in the regular season. And they have gotten even better. They got even deeper. You have a Chris Sale that's added, and I think Chris Sale is who's shown right now in spring training. His numbers are really good. He had one start in spring training where he did get hit a little bit hard, but his numbers are really good right now. And again, he's not asked to be a number 1 or number 2 in the rotation for the Braves. He's asked to be a number 4, number 5. And the depth of their rotation, where you have guys, you have kids in minors, and Bryce Elder, AJ Smith-Shawver, and Alan Winans and Darius Vines, who are going to get spot starts here and there too. You can expand out the starts of Chris Sale and Charlie Martin, who are the older pitchers in the staff, that where you can kind of just give them a start off and let them stay healthy. That's the key here, is those two have to be healthy throughout the year. Spencer Strider adding a curveball to his arsenal is going to be the best thing that he's ever done in his career, because it was so we saw this in against the Phillies at times, where you sit on 2 pitches for Strider. It's a fastball slider. It's a sideways pitch. He never had a pitch that can change the eye level up and down. Now he does. And that's going to make a difference. And I've watched the pitch, the curveball and slider. It looks the same out the hand. The movement and the direction is what changes. And that's going to be a huge pitch for him, especially against lefties. We saw, again, we continue to see the last 2 years, Bryce Harper hit Spencer Strider very well. So you change eye level with that curveball is going to be very big for Spencer Strider. Austin Riley is going to continue to develop and be one of the better third basemen. He's been voted by the players and as well as that he's one of the best third basemen in baseball. Ronald Acuna, who's going to be an MVP candidate again, the reigning MVP of 2023, he'll be an MVP candidate again. Matt Olson continues to be comfortable. This team is really talented, and it continues to be. I know there's a hole in left field. We still don't know Jared Kelenic and Adam Duvall, but this is the best roster in baseball. They don't have many holes on anywhere on this team, whether it's the starting rotation, the bullpen, or the lineup. They are the best team. They're going to win the division again for the 7th straight year.
How about the National League Central? Last year's finishing order was the Brewers, Cubs, Reds, Pirates, and Cardinals. Who wins it this season?
I have the Cincinnati Reds winning this division in 2024. They did a lot of good things last year. There was a very young roster, young team, and they provided a lot of excitement. And it started with Elly De La Cruz coming up and just providing that spark that this team needed and this franchise needed. They have not had this kind of excitement in a very long time. And you throw in a good, not say spectacular, but a good starting rotation with solid arms that are young, that are getting the experience, and they showed they can compete at this level too. A lineup that is, again, with De La Cruz, with Jonathan India, you have some good players in this group. I think they're in the right direction. They are going up, whereas the rest of the division, the Brewers, the Cardinals, the Cubs are kind of staying there. I think re-adding Bellinger helped, but the pitching for the Chicago Cubs makes me very nervous for them. Again, you don't have Marcus Stroman. You're hoping for Steele to continue to develop, but he's going to be kind of up and down. We've seen him up and down at times. Injury history is a little bit. So there's a big question mark for the Cubs pitching wise. And it was that way again as well in 2023. They did not address it. I think that opens the door for the Reds to win this division.
And then the National League West, Dodgers, Diamondbacks, Padres, Giants, and Rockies.
I picked the Dodgers to win this division. I don't think the Ohtani stuff is going to really change that side of this as well. I know the Diamondbacks, who were in the World Series last year, they still have the same group. They've added Eduardo Rodriguez. He's going to actually be starting the season on the IL, but they did get better. The gap will shrink a little bit, but the Dodgers are still the best team in this division. There is still a hole with this group as far as the bottom part of the lineup, where I don't necessarily trust Enrique Hernandez, Teoscar Hernandez, James Outman, Jason Hayward, and right now Gavin Lux. I know Lux, he's going to come off the ACL injury. He's got to prove that he's healthy. There's that bottom, the last five of the order the last four of the order makes me nervous. I know the top of the order is one of the best when you have Betts, Ohtani, Freeman, Max Muncy, and Will Smith. That is a great 1 through 5, but 6 through 9, it's very nerve-wracking a little bit. We kind of saw that in the Padres, against the Padres in Korea. They were held in check, that bottom part of the order. And if you can come across teams with like, hey, look, we know the top 5 is going to put their numbers on. We just can't let the bottom 4 hurt us. This is going to be a little bit nerve-wracking for the Dodgers, but I still think that they're the better team. You still have Tyler Glass now. You still have Walker Buehler, who's back. You do have Yamamoto. I am not holding anything against Yamamoto for his first start. I'm going to give him an entire 2024 season before I pass judgment. Is the hype too much, or is he as good as advertised? We will find out at the end of the season. But right now, the Dodgers are still the best team in this division.
So you already have one new playoff team with the Reds in the National League Central. The wildcard teams from last season were the Phillies, the Marlins, and the Diamondbacks. Will those 3 return as wildcard teams, or do you have some changes as far as who is making the playoffs in the National League?
I do have the Phillies. The Phillies are probably the 3rd best team in the National League, and again, they're just too talented. They have proven it year after year that they belong in the postseason, knocking out my Braves in 2 straight years and playing in the NLCS and even the World Series. So they're going to be in it, and they're going to continue to be in it. They're going to push the Braves in 2024 as much as possible. I do have the Diamondbacks returning to the postseason. I think they're a really good team. You have exciting players in Corbin Carroll. You have Yuri Gurriel returning, Ketel Marte, and Eugenio Suarez being the new 3rd baseman. I think that's going to be a big upgrade to what they have with Evan Longoria in 2023. So that's a hole that you kind of replaced. I think and then adding again Eduardo Rodriguez will help their rotation more. So I have the Diamondbacks returning. I do have the Marlins. I think the Chicago Cubs are going to miss the playoffs in 2024. The pitching just makes me worried for the Cubs, and they could make a move at the deadline to help them. But as of right now, if we're talking about today with it, I think the Marlins have more than what the Cubs do. And I think, again, the young, exciting team that was growing really well in 2023, will they continue that direction, or will they do what the Miami Marlins do, and they pun intended, flounder the 2024 season? That's going to be determined. That'll be the determining factor. But it's going to be between the Marlins and Cubs for that last spot. I think the Marlins will be that team to claim that last wild card position.
JG, you're breaking the hearts of Milwaukee fans this morning. From division winners to not even in the playoff conversation.
Yeah, there's too much. There's too much they've lost. Again, Corbin Burns is no longer there. He's in Baltimore. Brandon Woodruff is on the IL to start the season. There's too many issues. There's still a lot of distrust. You're talking about Devin Williams, who's the closer for the Brewers. He's been very outspoken over the last couple of years to get the front office of the Brewers and how they handled Corbin Burns, how they handled the Josh Hader trade. He was very outspoken against about that, and it doesn't seem like there's any ground for fixing that with the front office and players. And the fact that Corbin Burns got traded this offseason, which was expected, did not help that discourse. So they're gonna take a huge step back this year. I know there's some young players that are still good. You have Rhys Hoskins, who's now there in Milwaukee, but there's still a lot of issues. I don't see this team being a playoff team. I don't think they'll be a fourth place team in the NL Central.
JG, we appreciate you, and we look forward to talking to you later in the week, sir.
As always, guys, appreciate it.
Mo, so many questions, so little answers, and that is just where we are.
Yeah, I don't think the story goes away, but I think JG's right. The season will go on, and any real answers or any real conclusion won't be concluded probably till after the season's over.
Mo, we knew this was coming. It was made official yesterday. The National Football League has officially banned the hip drop tackle. Defensive players are not happy. Former defensive players are even more unhappy, and they're able to speak more vocally about it because they can't be fined by the NFL. JJ Watt came out yesterday and he was just asking, Mo, when are we going to get those team colored belts that you hang the flags off of? He just wants to know when those are coming in.
It's coming
for the teams. He's just curious about what those are going to look like. But there was one. I saw one yesterday. Former Miami Dolphins running back Kenyon Drake. I don't know where he's playing for right now. I don't know if he's on a team. I think he last played for the Raiders. But he came out and said that in 2021, this type of tackle cost him a good chunk of his season. And he is happy that is no longer going to be an issue for ball carriers. He is not in the majority, Mo. And that's not even talking about the fact of how the hell is the NFL going to properly police this in a way that is not going to just upset people.
Yeah, I love how are you going to police that? And defensive players are reactive, right? They usually react to the offense. They already have a target zone and what to hit and how to tap. They've already made it more difficult. I really think what you're going to see is more frustration because there's going to be more broken tackles. There are, because guys are going to hesitate. It's instinctive. And it just takes that blink to hesitate, where a guy's going to stiff arm you into the turf and keep it moving. So I think it's going to be a difficult adjustment for defensive players. And if and when that play does occur, like you said, how do you meet out like, oh, it actually wasn't that. It just looks similar to that. Or I'm with the defensive players. I'm all for safety, but I think the defense already is at a disadvantage with how the game is now. And you've just made it that much more difficult for them, especially for defensive backs. A guy catches the ball 20 yards downfield and you go to hit him. And remember, you can't hit him high, you can't hit him low. It's a target zone. And if he shakes you and you end up behind him, I guess you got to go for the perfect clean tackle where you get him right around the ankles. Like, it is asking a lot of defenders right now, and you've just made it that much more of a challenge for them going forward.
A couple of other things that were approved by the NFL, Mo. If a team is successful with either of their first two challenges, they will now be given a third challenge to use in the game. The NFL has approved the kickoff rule that we discussed yesterday. Maybe we did that, or last week. where they are going to kick off from the same spot. They're going to have different zones. You can't move until the ball hits the ground or is touched by a player, XFL style. So that has been approved. And the NFL has also made a change to correct penalties. It's not a review process as far as challenging a penalty, but it's expanding what they were already unofficially doing, which was getting that assist from the booth as far as, was it actually roughing the passer? Was it actually intentional grounding? Those are the types of plays that now the NFL can go up to the booth or whoever else is watching, New York or someone else, and just get a second opinion from somebody who saw a replay of it, as opposed to just going on what you saw bang, bang in real time. So again, I have no issue with that. The majority of those that I saw this year, Mo, those were clarified before we even got to the announcement on the field. The flag is thrown. Someone's already looking at it. They're communicating with the officials at the game, and they're getting that call corrected properly before the official even walks to the middle of the camera and taps the little box to talk to all of us. So I have no issue with that. But again, this hip drop thing, man, it's tough if you play defense.
It is big, and I know, I'm sure there's some people that are going to go like, "Oh, football goes on; it won't change a thing." Yeah, the game's going to continue, but it will change a thing. And if you're a running back, because I think this impacts them more than anybody, or a tight end who works over the middle and the seams, yeah, it will change some things. You're going to see more yards after the catch. You just are, because defenders are going to hesitate, or they're going to do the old tackle, because it does take some adjusting, right? If you've been doing something for years, they're going to do it. So then they'll do it, they'll get penalized, and then you go forward. But I just think that you can over officiate to a degree. They've already made the game safer for quarterbacks. They've made it basically, you have to grab a quarterback and gently lay them to the ground. Unless
not with your body weight. Not with your body weight.
That's right. You cannot fall on top of them with your full body weight. So it has to be a very gentle, almost ballet-like move.
Correct. And you're right, Mo. I think this is going to be running backs and tight ends, because how many times do you see a power back hit the hole and he starts to pop out the other side and he's carrying some guy who's got him by the waist, and that guy is just trying to use his weight to pull him down? You can't do that anymore. How many times do you see a big tight end on a crossing route and you got a little cornerback trying to hang on for dear life and pull him down because he's outsized and he's out strength? Can't do that anymore. If you do it, it's going to be 15 yards and a first down. So we'll see. Preseason will be a big must see to see how they officiate some of these new rules.
Adjustment for the officials.
Correct. That's the other part of it, and they're doing so well as it is, Mo. Spotless resumes across the board as it is.
Right, and now add something else for them to have to officiate or deal with.
Correct. News coming out of the Bay Area. San Francisco 49ers general manager John Lynch has officially gone on record to say the team is not looking to trade Brandon Ayuk. There's been a lot of, I kind of see by your face, Mo, you're not jazzed about it. There's been a lot of trade speculation involving Ayuk. John Lynch went on to compliment his star wide receiver, said he is very much a part of the future of this team, and we are currently not looking to move him. Now, if you're Ayuk, it should be what you kind of want to hear, unless you're trying to get out of there. But it seems like he wants to be in the Bay Area as long as he gets paid accordingly. But then Brandon Ayuk did what he's done lately, and he went to social media and he posted on Instagram some emojis, $sign emoji, talking voice emoji, bull emoji, poop emoji, walking man emoji. Money talks, BS walks, Mo.
These are facts.
When you put the puzzle together, that's where we are with Brandon Ayuk.
Right. I want to look. I would love to retain him. He's a very good wide receiver. a big playmaker, a big part of what they do. But I think they can make him a fair offer. What I know is though, if they make him a fair offer, it won't be enough.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I'm saying? Like he's not looking for a fair offer. He's looking to make, I guess, the kind of money that a Diggs would make or somebody of that ilk. And while I value him, I don't think he's of that ilk. I don't think he should be making what Tyreek Hill makes. He's not. He's not there. Or Justin Jefferson. He's a very good player, and I can easily say he's their best wide receiver. But I don't think you break the bank on bringing back Brandon Ayuk.
He does though.
And look, what is the line? If you don't believe in yourself, who will? I get
That's
it.
right. That's right.
And if the Niners don't pay him, do I think there's a team out there that will? Yes, there is. Somebody will look at him and go, he could be our number one, and they will pay him. They'll probably overpay him, but yes, somebody out there will pay him. I just don't think he's going to get the contract he's looking for in the Bay Area.
It is smoke screen season in the NFL with the draft right around the corner. This is the time of year where you are going to hear things that are completely false, that are completely made up. You're going to hear a lot of teams being wishy-washy on where they are and what direction they're going in, Mo. It's all about creating diversions. It's all about creating potential trade opportunities. It's all about other teams not knowing what your plans are, so no one comes up ahead of you and takes the player that you want. All of this is being done to keep the actual plan secretive, with the exception of everybody but probably the Chicago Bears. I think we know what's happening there. But now, Mo, there is news coming out of Washington that the Commanders, and this is coming from other NFL executives, reportedly the feeling amongst a group of NFL executives is that the Commanders are very high on J.J. McCarthy. The same J.J. McCarthy that Jim Harbaugh has spoken about twice this week, or in the end of last week. His first nugget was that J.J. is the best quarterback available in this draft. And as if that wasn't enough, he spoke about him again yesterday, where he doubled down, Mo, and said that J.J. had the best pro day that he has ever seen in his entire football career. And Jim Harbaugh has seen plenty of pro days, Mo.
Yeah.
And apparently J.J. McCarthy had the best one. Mo, buy or sell? Is Washington actually going to take J.J. McCarthy with the second overall pick in the draft?
I think they're going to sell. I think I don't buy that they're going to take him. And by the way, do I think J.J. McCarthy can play at the next level and be a good quarterback? I do. I don't know about he's going to be a star or anything of that ilk, but he, the best way I would describe him, Chris, is he's a gamer, right? You know what? He's actually, if you can, now this might proceed, you wouldn't know, you're younger than I am. I think he's very much the kind of quarterback that Jim Harbaugh was when he played quarterback. He's a gamer, not a star, but he's one of those gutsy kind of guys that will find a way to win football games. And I think that's why Jim Harbaugh loves him and he's drawn to him. But I don't think he's the best quarterback coming out in this draft class.
Well, before we get out of here, if we're going to talk about the 2024 draft, let's not talk. Why not? Why not? Let's do this. Let's talk about the 2025 draft, because Deion Sanders is already talking about the 2025 draft. Coach Prime was talking about two of his star players in his son, Shedeur Sanders, and Travis Hunter, the star two-way college football player. And Deion never needs to be provoked to give a good line. He never needs to be encouraged to give a good quote. He was simply saying there are some teams out there in the draft next season that are probably going to be looking at Hunter and Sanders, and they ain't going to cut it. They ain't going to be it. His boys might have to go Eli, meaning saying no to teams that are interested in drafting them. We talked about this a little bit with Caleb Williams last week about players picking and choosing where they play coming through the NFL draft. And Mo, my response to that isn't going to change with Shedeur Sanders or Travis Hunter, mostly because one, Sanders is not the college football prospect that Caleb Williams is. And if I don't think it should go to Caleb Williams, then it definitely shouldn't go to Sanders. And two, I don't care how great Travis Hunter is going to be as a cornerback in the NFL with potential wide receiver skills as well. He is not going to shift a franchise by playing cornerback and wide receiver at the same time. So I don't think he deserves the right to pick either.
Agreed.
So
I think he shortens his career trying to play both, first of all, or maybe speeds up a process of being injured trying to play both. And I think we had this conversation before. I'm with you. I don't care if you like where you get drafted. That's where you get drafted. If I draft you and you tell me you don't want to play for us, I'm still going to draft you. And if you want to sit there and miss a season, you're still going to be on my team. I'm not going to play that game. I'm not going to play that game. And I actually think that trying to take those kind of stances, I know Eli and Elway did it back in the day, but that was back then. I don't think that flies now. I don't think owners and GMs are going to put up with that. If you're our guy, if you're number one on our board and we want you, we're going to draft you. You start talking crazy, you're still going to be on the team. If you want to ride pine and try to hold out, that's on you. But you're not going anywhere. You're going to be on our team. You're going to represent our team at some point, or you won't play football.
And it really, I think it should be that simple. This is the way the process works. If you are going to declare for the NFL draft, then you are open to be taken by any team. Now, again, if you want to put out through back channels, I really don't want to play in a cold weather city. I think my skill set would be better for a warm weather city. That's fine. Let your agent, let your PR team do all those things and let them send, the backdoor messages to potential teams that you don't want to play for, and that's not your desire. And then they can make a decision whether they want to deal with you potentially being unhappy, whether they think you're not worth the headache. That's fine. But once you're drafted, Mo, you're drafted.
Correct.
And I have a big issue with you coming out at that point and saying, you shouldn't have done this. I know you heard the rumors. Now you're going to feel my wrath. No, sorry. That's not how this works. Don't sign your rookie deal. That's fine. Where are you going to go?
Right. So you're not going to sign the rookie deal. So you're just going to kind of sit in limbo, right? Because you don't have because you can't make the NIL money no more. You're no longer a collegiate athlete. So
I'm sorry, but big boy sponsors, they want NFL players who actually play NFL games.
This does matter, right?
So, okay, it's cool.
If you want to do a self-imposed blackballing, that's on you. That's on you. Look, and I know there's some people out there in the chat that will disagree with Chris and I. I'm just saying that be a professional. I get it. In a perfect world, you get drafted by your dream team that you grew up watching and loving and all that kind of stuff. Or it plays out like it did in the movie Draft Day, where the kid ends up playing for Cleveland like his dad did. But it doesn't always go that way. Just be professional. Honor that first contract. If you eventually want to move on, or they want to move on from you, then you'll get the opportunity to. But when you get drafted, to me, is where you get drafted.
And Mo, if there is a team out there, if there's one team that you really want to be on, find a way to let them know and see if they'll come get you. If they want you bad enough, they'll come get you to make it happen. And if they're like, that's great, we'd love to have you, but we're not coming up to get you. They didn't want you that bad. No. They're happy to have you if you're there, but they're not happy enough to start moving things around to go get like have that sobering conversation, right? Like, I would really love to play for these three teams. See if one of those three teams will come up to get you. And if they don't, well, I guess they didn't want you quite as bad as you wanted them. So why don't you play for someone who wants you?
Or you're not as good as advertised, and a guy like John Lynch spends 4 number ones to go get you. And then,
or that.
I know it sounds like I can't let it go. I can't let it go.
Listen, at some point he's going to be a star. Other people have said that.
Yeah.
We'll see. We'll see. All right. Close us out on a Tuesday, sir.
Hey, thank you guys so much for joining Chris and I live. Make sure you guys check out all the great content that we have at the Wire to Wire Network. You've already listened to us. Give us a like, a sub, a follow. We appreciate you guys and the support you give us so much. Wire to Wire Network. Check us out.
Hey, make sure you're back here, same time, same place tomorrow. Will is going to be here as we make the push to the NBA playoffs. We got about a dozen games left for each team. The NFL genius himself, Gene, is going to be here. We're going to talk the NFL draft, and we're going to talk about some upcoming free agency moves. All of that and more. Coffee and sports. It's the morning show, powered by Wire